The bus terminal smelled like diesel, wet cardboard, and other people's impatience. 9-year-old Nia Carter stood near the cracked bench by the vending machines, hugging her thin jacket tighter as the wind sliced through the open bays. Her sneakers had a split seam that flapped when she walked, and she kept stepping carefully so the sole wouldn't peel completely off. Most adults didn't see her. They saw a little black girl in a too-big hoodie and assumed she was trouble before she ever opened her mouth. But Nia wasn't here to cause trouble. She was here because her mom had been coughing again, deep, ugly coughs that sounded like her lungs were trying to escape. And the hospital had sent another letter with red ink. Final notice. Nia didn't fully understand bills. She just understood what happened after them. Lights went out. Water stopped. Landlords knocked harder. And her mother, Monique Carter, kept smiling anyway, like bravery was a sweater she could pull over both of them. That morning, Monique had pressed her palm against Nia's cheek and whispered, "Whatever happens, baby, keep your heart clean." Nia didn't know what that meant until she saw the suitcase. It was black, hard shell, and sitting alone near the curb like it had been abandoned by a ghost. No tag, no stickers, no frantic owner running back for it. Just waiting. Nia looked around. A man in a business coat argued on his phone. A woman dragged a suitcase with a screaming toddler. 2 teens laughed near the bus bay. Nobody looked at the black case. Nia stepped closer, her heart tapping out a warning in her ribs. She touched the handle. Cold, heavy, her stomach tightened. Someone's going to come back. She waited. 30 seconds. A minute, 2. Nobody. A bus hissed. Doors opened. People surged like a wave. And still, the suitcase stayed. Nia's hands trembled as she dragged it behind the bench, where the vending machine cast a shadow. She shouldn't open it. But her mind did something dangerous when it thought about her mother. It calculated. How much would medicine cost? How much would rent be? How much would it cost to stop the landlord from yelling? Nia swallowed hard. She snapped the latches. The suitcase popped open. And for a second, her brain refused to understand what her eyes were seeing. Stacks of bills bundled tight filled the case like bricks. Not coins, not loose money. Stacks, neat, perfect, like a movie. Nia's mouth went dry. A tiny sound escaped her throat, half gasp, half prayer. Her fingers hovered over the cash like it might burn. Then she saw an envelope on top. Plain white. No stamp. Just one word written in clean, sharp handwriting. Return. Her body went cold. That word wasn't a request. It was a command. Nia snapped the suitcase shut as if the money had eyes. She wasn't stupid. She knew what taking it meant. People got arrested for less. But then her mind played the picture she hated most. Her mom lying still, eyes half open, the room too quiet. Nia's throat tightened. "Please," she whispered, like the suitcase could hear her. "Please don't be somebody's trap." Her phone buzzed in her pocket, an old cracked phone her mom used mostly for emergencies. A text from her mom. "Baby, you okay? I'm just resting. Don't worry. Love you." Nia stared at the message until her eyes blurred. She could go home. She could pretend she never saw it. But what if someone else found it? Someone who wouldn't even blink before running? Nia's hands clenched. She dragged the suitcase toward the street, every step heavier than the last. And that's when she heard the voice. "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" Nia froze. A security guard, bald, thick-necked, wearing a reflective vest, strode toward her, eyes narrowed. He looked at Nia, then at the suitcase, then back at Nia as if the suitcase was obviously stolen. "Where'd you get that?" he demanded. Nia's throat closed. I found it," she said. The guard scoffed like her words were a joke. "You found it," he repeated loudly, letting the sarcasm drip. People turned. A few stared openly. Some smirked. Nia felt heat climb her face. The guard stepped closer, towering over her. "Little girl, you don't just find luggage full of money. You take it. That's called stealing." Nia's eyes burned. It wasn't mine, she said, voice shaking. I was taking it to the police. The guard snorted again, loud enough to make nearby people laugh. Yeah? And I'm the mayor. He grabbed the suitcase handle. Nia tightened her grip so hard her fingers hurt. Let go, he ordered. Nia didn't, because letting go felt like letting go of her mother's breath. I'm not stealing, she whispered, and her voice cracked on the last word. The guard's expression hardened. Then you won't mind if we open it and see what you're hiding. Nia's stomach dropped. He yanked the suitcase. Nia stumbled forward and almost fell. A woman nearby murmured, "They're always up to something." Nia heard that. She heard it like a slap. The guard popped the suitcase open. The stacks of money appeared like a confession. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The guard's eyes widened. For the first time, he looked nervous. Then he looked at Nia like she had done something unforgivable. Are you kidding me? He hissed. Where did you steal this from? Nia's vision blurred. I didn't steal it, she said again. But now it sounded smaller, like the world was swallowing her words. The guard pulled out his radio. Dispatch, I need police at the East Terminal. Possible theft. Child suspect. Child suspect. Nia stood there in the crowd's gaze, feeling like she had been shoved into a box labeled guilty. She tried to speak, but her mouth wouldn't move. A man muttered, "These kids are getting bold." Another said, "She probably got a gang behind her." Nia wanted to scream. She wanted to tell them her gang was a sick mother and an empty fridge, but the words stayed trapped behind her ribs. Police arrived fast, 2 officers, hands resting on their belts, eyes scanning the scene like danger had already been decided. The security guard spoke first, loud and confident. I caught her trying to run off with it, he said. Nia's breath hitched. That's not true, she blurted out. One officer glanced at her like she was a fly buzzing near his ear. The other leaned down just slightly, not enough to feel kind. Where's your parent? He asked. At home, Nia said. She's sick. The officer's face didn't soften. Nia's hands shook. Please, she said. I was taking it to you. I was coming to the police. The guard laughed. Yeah, right. The officer looked into the suitcase again. His eyes sharpened. This is serious money, he said quietly. Nia nodded fast. I know. A patrol car door opened. That sound metal on metal made Nia's heart stop. Let's take her in, the guard said, proud like he'd done a good deed. Nia's knees went weak. No, she cried. Please, my mom, she needs me. The officer's face remained careful, professional, distant. Nobody's arresting you yet, he said, like that was supposed to comfort her. But you're coming with us to the station until we figure this out. Nia looked around the crowd. All those faces, all those adults, not one offered kindness. Not one said, she's a kid. Not one asked, what if she's telling the truth? She felt invisible again, except now she was invisible in the worst way, like a villain nobody needed to understand. She climbed into the back of the patrol car with the suitcase beside her. And as the door shut, she whispered something no one heard. Mom, please don't stop breathing. The police station smelled like old coffee and metal, the kind of place where fear sat in the corners like dust. Nia held the suitcase handle like it was the only proof she had that she wasn't a criminal. People stared. A desk sergeant stopped typing. A cop paused mid-sip. Then the front doors opened again. And a man walked in who didn't belong there. He wore a charcoal suit that looked like it had never met a wrinkle. His watch caught the light like a small sun. He didn't rush. He didn't look nervous. He looked certain. The room changed around him. Even the officers straightened a little. He walked directly toward Nia. Then, to her surprise, he knelt all the way down until they were eye level. His voice was calm, almost gentle. Hi, he said. My name is Elliot Vale. Nia blinked, confused. He looked at the suitcase, then back at her. And I believe you found something that belongs to me. Nia's stomach dropped. This wasn't just money. This was someone powerful. And the way everyone in the station suddenly treated him like gravity itself told Nia exactly how this could end for a girl like her. Elliot studied her face carefully, like he wasn't just looking at her. He was looking for something inside her. Then he asked the question that made Nia's throat close again. "Tell me the truth," he said softly. "Why didn't you keep it?" Nia opened her mouth, and the answer that came out wasn't what she expected. "Because my mom told me to keep my heart clean," she whispered. Elliot's expression flickered, just for a second, like something inside him moved. Then he glanced toward the officers. "And how exactly are you treating her?" he asked. The room went still. Because suddenly, it wasn't a poor little girl on trial anymore. It was everyone else. And the billionaire's eyes had turned cold. Elliot didn't waste time. Within minutes, he had officers making calls, pulling camera footage, checking the terminal's blind spots. Nia sat on the plastic chair again, arms wrapped around herself, watching adults move like a storm had entered the building. But the scariest part? Nobody was looking at her like she was just a kid anymore. Now they were looking at her like she was a clue. The security guard hovered near the desk, agitated. "I don't like this," he muttered. "This is above my pay grade." Elliot didn't even glance at him. "Nia," Elliot said softly, crouching beside her again. "I need to know exactly what happened at the terminal. Every detail, even the small ones." Nia's voice was small. "I waited. I looked around. I saw people. Nobody came back. Then that guard yelled at me." Elliot nodded. "Did anyone else see you open the suitcase?" Nia shook her head. "I opened it behind the bench." Elliot's eyes narrowed slightly. "Did you see any cameras near that bench?" Nia looked up, thinking hard. "There's one over the snack shop," she said. "But it's broken. The screen inside always flickers." Elliot's face tightened. "Broken cameras are convenient," he murmured. An officer approached, holding a printout. "Mr. Vale, the terminal's camera near Bay 4 has been offline for 2 weeks." Elliot's mouth pressed into a thin line. Of course it has. Nia's stomach churned. This felt bigger than her. Too big. Elliot's phone buzzed again. He read the message. His eyes flashed with something sharp anger, maybe. He looked at the officers. "Do we have her address?" he asked. Nia stiffened. Her address. That meant her home. That meant her mother. Nia shot to her feet. "No," she cried. "Don't go there, please. My mom will get scared." Elliot held up his hand gently. "I'm not here to scare her," he promised. "I'm here to help. But I have to make sure she's safe." The officer cleared his throat. "We'll do a welfare check." Elliot's jaw tightened. "No," he said. "Not a check, a real visit, with medical support." The officer looked uncomfortable. "Sir, that's not standard." Elliot's eyes didn't blink. "Then we'll do something better than standard," he said. They drove Nia home, 2 officers in one car. Elliot in another. Nia sat in the back seat, staring out the window at streets she knew too well, stores with bars on the windows, sidewalks cracked like old bones, murals fading under sun and neglect. When they pulled up to her building, her heart nearly stopped. A man stood near the entrance, tall, lean, hoodie up despite the day not being cold. He wasn't smoking. He wasn't scrolling. He was watching. Nia's skin prickled. Elliot noticed instantly. He leaned toward the driver. "Don't park right in front," Elliot said calmly. "Circle once," the officer blinked. "Why?" "Because that man isn't waiting for a friend," Elliot said. "He's waiting for information." They circled. Nia watched the man's head turn, tracking the car. A cold fear crawled up her spine. Elliot's voice stayed steady. "Nia," he said softly, "have you seen him before?" Nia stared, trying to remember. Then her breath caught. "Yes," she whispered. "He was at the terminal." Elliot's eyes hardened. The officer's hands tightened on the wheel. Elliot made a quick call. When they finally parked 2 blocks away, the officers approached first, careful. Elliot stayed close to Nia. "Stay beside me," he said. Nia nodded, legs shaking. As they walked, the man near the entrance shifted. He took a step away like he didn't want to be noticed, but he kept watching. Elliot didn't confront him, not yet. They climbed the stairs to Nia's apartment. The hallway smelled like fried oil and damp laundry. Nia's hands fumbled with the keys. Her voice trembled. "Mom?" She called. "It's me." No answer. Nia's chest tightened. She pushed the door open. The apartment was dim, curtains drawn. "Mom?" She called again, louder. A cough answered. Monique lay on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, her face pale. When she saw Nia, her eyes widened with fear and relief all at once. "Nia?" She rasped. "Where were you?" Then she noticed the officers. Her body stiffened. "Nia, what did you do?" She whispered, panic rising. Nia ran to her, grabbing her mother's hand. "I didn't do anything bad," Nia cried. "I tried to do the right thing." Monique's eyes flipped to Elliot. He stepped forward gently, hands visible. "Miss Carter," he said. "My name is Elliot Vale. I'm here because your daughter showed more integrity today than most adults do in a lifetime." Monique stared, confused. Nia's voice shook as she told her mother everything: terminal, suitcase, security guard, police station. When Nia admitted she took some money, Monique closed her eyes, pain flickering across her face. But then she squeezed Nia's hand. "You were scared," Monique whispered. "I know." Elliot's voice was careful. "She still brought it back," Elliot said. "And she admitted the truth." Monique's eyes filled. "People don't give girls like her grace," she whispered. "They don't even give us space to be human." Elliot's gaze didn't waver. "Then let's change that," he said. A medic team arrived. Elliot had called them. Monique tried to protest. "We can't afford," Elliot cut her off gently. "You don't have to afford being alive," he said. Monique stared at him like she didn't understand kindness without strings. Nia watched her mother's pride fight her desperation. Finally, Monique whispered, "Okay." As the medics checked Monique, one of the officers stepped into the hallway and quietly spoke into his radio. Nia didn't hear all of it, but she heard enough. Male suspect, hootie, loitering, possible connection. Nia's stomach dropped. That man, he was still out there. Then a neighbor, Mrs. Dorsey, peeked out of her door, eyes wide. "What's all this?" she asked. Before anyone could answer, Mrs. Dorsey's gaze landed on Nia, and her expression changed. Not concern, judgment. "Nia," she said loudly, "I always knew something like this would happen." Nia's face burned. Monique's eyes flashed with hurt. Elliot turned slowly toward Mrs. Dorsey. His voice was polite, too polite. "Ma'am," he said, "what exactly do you mean by that?" Mrs. Dorsey sniffed. "You know. Kids running around, money, police." Elliot stepped closer. "Her mother is sick," he said. "Her child found money and returned it." "Your first instinct is to accuse her," Mrs. Dorsey bristled. "I'm just saying," Elliot nodded, voice firm now. "No," he said. "You're not just saying. You're showing her what you think she deserves." Nia stared at Elliot, stunned. No adult ever defended her like that, not in public. Not against someone older, Mrs. Dorsey scoffed. "And who are you supposed to be?" Elliot didn't raise his voice. "I'm the man who owned that suitcase," he said. Mrs. Dorsey blinked. Elliot's eyes sharpened. "And I'm also the man who funds half the clinic programs in this district. So if you want to just say something, say it carefully." Mrs. Dorsey's mouth opened, then closed. Because suddenly, respect arrived not for Nia, but for Elliot. And Nia saw the ugly truth. People didn't listen to pain. They listened to power. Elliot glanced at Nia, as if he could read her thoughts. "I see it," he said quietly, "just for her. And I hate it too." Then a shout came from downstairs. An officer yelled, "He's running!" Nia's heart stopped. Elliot moved instantly, stepping in front of Nia like a shield. And in that moment, Nia realized something terrifying. Whoever was connected to the second suitcase was close enough to smell their fear. The hallway exploded with footsteps. Nia clung to her mother's hand as medics guided Monique onto a stretcher. Monique's eyes were wide. "Nia," she rasped, voice shaking. "Don't leave me." Nia's chest cracked. "I'm here," she sobbed. "I'm right here." Elliot crouched beside Monique, voice steady. "She's not going anywhere," he promised, "and neither am I." Outside, sirens wailed. The man in the hoodie had run the moment he realized police were watching. But he didn't get far. Nia didn't see the chase. She only heard the thud of bodies, the shouted commands, the scrape of shoes, then silence. A few minutes later, an officer returned, breathing hard. "We got him," the officer said. "He had a burner phone and a key." Elliot's eyes narrowed. "A key to what?" Elliot asked. The officer held it up. A small metal key with a numbered tag. Elliot's jaw tightened. "That's a terminal locker key," he said quietly. The officer nodded. "We searched him." "He also had a note," the officer said, handing Elliot a folded paper. Elliot opened it. His face went still, then cold. "What does it say?" Nia whispered. Elliot looked at her, expression controlled. "It's a pickup instruction," he said. "For the second suitcase." The officer added, "And here's the part you should know. There are names on it." People inside the terminal. Elliot's gaze sharpened. "Inside help," he murmured. "That's why the camera was broken." Nia's stomach turned. So it wasn't just a test. It was a trap waiting for the wrong person to touch the money. And Nia's small, poor black had been the easiest target to blame. Monique was taken to the hospital, and Elliot insisted Nia ride with them. At the hospital, the waiting room felt colder than the police station. Nia sat curled up in a chair, knees tucked to her chest, watching nurses glide past like they belonged to another world. Elliot sat across from her, phone pressed to his ear, voice low but commanding. Nia caught pieces of it. Internal investigation, terminal staff, security contractor. Press will come. Protect the child. Protect the child. No one had ever said that sentence like it was a priority. Finally, Elliot ended the call and looked at Nia. "You did something rare," he said. Nia wiped her face, exhausted. "I almost didn't," she whispered. "I almost kept it, because nobody helps us." Elliot nodded slowly, like he respected her honesty. "I know," he said. "And that's why I needed to see what would happen." Nia's eyes flashed with sudden anger. "So you really did test people," she said, voice shaking. "You tested me." Elliot didn't flinch. "Yes," he admitted. "And I'm sorry you were the one who found it." Nia's lips trembled. "My mom could have died," she whispered. Elliot's eyes softened. "And because of you," he said, "she won't." A doctor approached. Monique needed treatment, serious treatment. Not a cheap prescription and a goodbye. Monique's medical bills would be enormous. Nia felt her throat close again. "How much?" she whispered. The doctor hesitated. Elliot stood. "I'll cover it," he said. Monique, weak, pale, but still proud, tried to protest from the stretcher. "No," she rasped. "We can't." Elliot gently held up a hand. "Miss Carter," he said, "this isn't charity." Monique stared, confused. Elliot's voice sharpened, not at her, at the world. "This is repair," he said. "For how fast this system is to punish you, and how slow it is to protect you." Monique's eyes filled with tears. Nia stared at Elliot like she didn't trust miracles. Then the instant karma arrived, swift and undeniable. Because while Nia waited, the hospital TV switched to breaking news. A reporter stood outside the bus terminal. On the screen, Nia saw the security guard, the same one who'd called her a suspect, being questioned by investigators. The headline read, "Terminal security under investigation, possible cash drop scheme." Exposed. Nia's mouth fell open. Elliot's gaze stayed fixed on the screen, jaw tight. "They were running a racket," Elliot said quietly. "Planting lost cash, accusing vulnerable people, then recovering it with inside help. They didn't expect a child with a clean heart to bring it to the police. Nia shook, overwhelmed. So, I was supposed to be the fall guy, she whispered. Elliot nodded once. Yes, he said. And you refused to play the role they wrote for you. Nia's eyes burned. The reporter continued. Police say multiple terminal workers may be involved. The security guard's face was pale now. No smirk, no confidence. Just fear. The same fear he'd tried to stamp into Nia. Instant karma wasn't loud. It was accurate, and it didn't miss. Nia's voice trembled. They're going to know it was me, she whispered. Elliot leaned forward, eyes steady. Let them know, he said. Because this time, you won't be standing alone. Later that night, Monique was stabilized. For the first time in months, her breathing sounded less like a struggle. Nia sat by her bed, holding her hand, watching her chest rise and fall like a precious promise. Monique opened her eyes weakly. Nia, she whispered, you did the right thing. Nia sobbed. I was scared, she said. I'm still scared. Monique squeezed her fingers. Being brave isn't not being scared, Monique whispered. It's doing right anyway. Elliot stood near the door, quiet, respectful. Monique looked at him, cautious. Why are you doing all this? She asked. Elliot took a slow breath. Then he answered the truth he hadn't told anyone yet. Because I grew up like her, he said. Nia stared. Elliot nodded. People see Billionaire and forget I used to be a kid nobody believed, Elliot said. I didn't become powerful because the world was kind to me. I became powerful because I promised myself I would never ignore kids like me. Nia's heart pounded. Elliot stepped closer and placed a folder on the bedside table. Inside were documents, clinic coverage, housing support, school opportunities. A complete plan, not a donation. A future. Monique's eyes filled again. This is too much, she whispered. Elliot shook his head. It's not enough, he said. But it's a start. Nia looked at the folder like it might vanish if she blinked. Elliot turned to Nia. And one more thing, he said. Nia swallowed. Elliot smiled softly. I'm not just paying your mom's bills, he said. I'm investing in your life. Tutors. Safe housing. A trust fund. And when you're ready, I want you to help me build programs that protect kids who get blamed just for existing. Nia's voice shook. Why me? Elliot's eyes warmed. Because you proved something today, he said. Respect isn't something you beg for. It's something you carry. And your kindness didn't come from comfort. It came from strength. Nia stared at him, tears sliding down her cheeks. And for the first time, she understood something that felt like sunlight in her chest. The world had tried to make her small. But her heart had stayed big anyway. Elliot looked at Monique, then at Nia. And tomorrow, he said, we're going to tell your story on your terms. Nia whispered, barely audible. Will they finally see me? Elliot nodded. They'll see you, he said. And they'll learn what happens when they mistake humility for weakness. Monique exhaled, eyes closing in relief. Nia held her mother's hand and watched her breathe. Outside, the night was still. But inside that hospital room, something had shifted. Not just money. Not just justice. A message. Respect everyone. Because the person you dismissed today might be the one who changes everything tomorrow.